It all started on a crisp autumn morning in 2023, the kind where the leaves crunch underfoot like brittle memories, and the air carries a promise of change that never quite arrives. My name is Alex, and I've spent the last 2 years replaying that day in my mind, an endless loop of regret and resentment. My wife, Elena, had just been promoted to senior project manager at Technova, a cutting-edge software firm in Silicon Valley. It was her dream job, prestigious, high-paying, and full of potential. She was overseeing a team developing AI-driven analytics tools for Fortune 500 companies. At 32, she was on the fast track to executive level, with stock options that could set us up for life. We were talking about buying a house, starting a family. Life felt like it was finally aligning. Elena was always the driven one in our marriage. We met in college, where she was majoring in computer science and I was fumbling through a business degree. She graduated top of her class. I barely scraped by, but she saw something in me, a spark of creativity. She said, I worked as a freelance graphic designer, which meant inconsistent income and a lot of time at home. Elena didn't mind. She loved coming back to our cozy apartment in Palo Alto, where I'd have dinner ready and we'd unwind with wine and Netflix. You're my anchor, she'd say, kissing my forehead, but anchors can drag you down if you're not careful. The trouble began with a simple favor. Technova was hosting their annual Innovation Summit, a big event where executives, clients, and investors mingled. Elena was presenting a keynote on their new AI platform. She was nervous, rehearsing her slides late into the night. Alex, can you proofread this for me? She asked one evening, handing me her laptop. I nodded, eager to help. As I scrolled through her presentation, I noticed a section on data visualization. Being a designer, I couldn't resist tweaking it. I added some flashy animations, revamped the charts with bolder colors, and even inserted a custom infographic I'd whipped up in Photoshop. This will make it pop, I thought. I saved the changes and gave it back to her without mentioning the edits. She was exhausted and trusted me implicitly. The summit was a whirlwind. I attended as her +1, feeling out of place among the suits and tech jargon. Elena nailed her presentation, or so it seemed. The audience applauded, and her boss, Mr. Hargrove, patted her on the back. But later that evening, during the cocktail reception, things unraveled. Hargrove pulled her aside, his face stern. I watched from across the room, sipping a mediocre Chardonnay, as Elena's expression shifted from confusion to horror. It turned out my improvements had caused a glitch. The animations overloaded the software during a live demo segment that Elena hadn't rehearsed with my changes. The screen froze mid-presentation, displaying distorted data that looked like gibberish. Worse, one of the infographics I'd added inadvertently pulled in placeholder text from my design files, text that included a joke meme about corporate overlords I'd forgotten to delete. It flashed briefly, but long enough for a few sharp-eyed investors to notice. Whispers spread like wildfire. By the end of the night, social media was buzzing with screenshots, and Technova's stock dipped 2% overnight. Elena confronted me in the car on the way home. What did you do to my slides? She hissed, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. I confessed, stammering apologies. I was just trying to help, make it better. Her eyes filled with tears. Alex, that wasn't your call. You ruined it. We argued until dawn, but I thought it would blow over. Technova valued her. Surely one mishap wouldn't derail her career. I was wrong. The next week, Elena was called into Hargrove's office. The investors were furious, demanding accountability. The meme had been interpreted as a subtle jab at the company's leadership, fueling rumors of internal dissent. Elena tried to explain it was a mistake, that her husband, me, had meddled without her knowledge. But Hargrove wasn't buying it. This reflects poorly on your judgment, Elena. We can't afford liabilities like this. By Friday, she was out. No severance. Just a curt email and her belongings in a box. The firing hit us like a freight train. Elena's salary was our lifeline. My freelance gigs barely covered rent. We downsized to a cramped one-bedroom in a sketchy neighborhood, and the dream house vanished like smoke. She applied everywhere, Google, Microsoft, startups, but the story had spread. Technova's non-disparagement clause kept her silent, but whispers in the industry labeled her as unreliable. Rejections piled up, each one a dagger. She took a temp job at a local consulting firm, making half her old salary, crunching numbers in a cubicle that felt like a cage. From the start, the blame was all on me. If you hadn't touched my work, I'd still be there, she'd say over dinner, her voice laced with venom. At first, I apologized profusely, bringing her flowers, cooking her favorite meals, but as weeks turned to months, her resentment hardened. You always do this, Alex. Undermine me because you're insecure about your own career. It stung because there was truth in it. My designs weren't landing big clients. I felt like a failure next to her brilliance, but I never meant to sabotage her. The first year was brutal. We'd fight about money, bills stacking up, credit cards maxed. This is your fault, she'd scream during arguments. I had everything, and you took it away. I'd retreat to the living room couch, staring at the ceiling, wondering if our marriage could survive. Therapy was suggested, but we couldn't afford it. Instead, we tiptoed around each other, polite strangers in our own home. Intimacy faded, touches became rare, conversations superficial. By the 6-month mark, Elena started drinking more. A glass of wine turned into a bottle. Her evenings spent scrolling LinkedIn, envying her former colleagues' promotions. Look at Sarah, she's VP now. That could have been me. I'd try to console her, you'll get back there. You're talented. But she'd snap. Easy for you to say, you didn't lose anything. And she was right. My life hadn't changed much, except for the guilt weighing me down like lead. Friends noticed the strain. At gatherings, Elena would force a smile, but her eyes betrayed the bitterness. One night, at a barbecue, she exploded when someone asked about her job. Ask Alex why I'm not at Technova anymore. The awkward silence that followed was deafening. We left early, the car ride home filled with her sobs. I hate you for this, she whispered. Those words echoed in my nightmares. As the second year dawned, the blame evolved into a silent accusation. Elena landed a better role at a mid-tier tech company, managing a small team on cybersecurity projects. It was a step up from temping, but nowhere near her old trajectory. This is as good as it gets now, she'd say flatly. Promotions came slowly. Her confidence was shattered. She second-guessed every decision, fearing another mistake like mine. Our relationship fractured further. We slept in separate rooms after a particularly vicious fight where she accused me of jealousy. You couldn't stand me succeeding while you stagnated. I denied it, but doubt crept in. Had I subconsciously wanted to pull her down? Therapy finally happened when I insisted, scraping together funds from a big freelance project. The counselor, Dar Ramirez, unpacked our issues layer by layer. Blame is a shield for pain, she said. Elena admitted the firing exposed her vulnerabilities, relying too much on others, not double-checking work. But the core remained, my actions sparked it all. Yet, glimmers of hope emerged. One evening, after a session, Elena sat me down. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, Alex, but it did, and I've been punishing you for 2 years. Tears streamed down her face. I held her. The first real embrace in months. I'm sorry, I murmured. Every day, we talked for hours, about rebuilding trust, supporting each other's dreams. I started taking online courses in project management, aiming for stability. Elena encouraged me, a spark of the old her returning. But healing isn't linear. Some days, the blame resurfaces, like when she misses a deadline and mutters, if I were still at Technova, or during anniversaries of the summit, when she'd withdraw into silence. We've learned to navigate it, though. Date nights became rituals, walks in the park, sharing aspirations without judgment. Last month, she got a raise, and we celebrated with champagne. To new beginnings, she toasted, her smile genuine. Still, the shadow lingers. 2 years of blame have scarred us. A reminder of how one impulsive act can derail lives. Elena's promising career at Technova is a ghost, haunting what could have been. But in the quiet moments, when she laughs at my bad jokes or curls up beside me, I see resilience. We're not the same couple, but perhaps stronger, forged in the fire of forgiveness. Or at least, that's what I tell myself as I drift to sleep, hoping tomorrow brings less accusation and more understanding.